In this video, we're going to talk about how to find a percent of a number. But before we dive in, let's first remind ourselves, what is a percent? A percent is simply a ratio that compares a number to 100. So in the example of 27%, we're going to compare 27 to 100. You can see that visually by these 27 boxes shaded in out of the 100 total boxes. Or another example, 83%, you see 83 boxes shaded in out of the 100 total boxes. So now that we remember what a percent is, let's ask ourselves how we can find a percent of a number, and why might we need to do this? Let me explain it with a quick example. Say you had an 80% on your science test. From what we just learned, that means you would have an 80 out of 100. However, your test wasn't out of 100, it was out of 25. So how could we figure out how many questions you got right out of those 25 if you got an 80% on it? That's when we're going to need to ask ourselves a percent of a number question, and it'll look something like this. What is 80% of 25? We'll use a strategy today called cross multiplication that has 3 quick steps to solving any percent problem you might be asked. Let's start by going back to that question and setting up our equal ratios. The first ratio we have is our percentage, which is 80 out of 100. And we're asking ourselves what is equal to that, but with 25 on the bottom. So what or something out of 25 is equal to 80 out of 100. We'll now solve for that missing piece, those question marks, with 3 quick steps. Step number 1 is going to be to find the 2 numbers you have that are diagonal from one another. You're going to multiply them by each other, and lastly, divide that product by the third number. So let's take a look at what that is in action. The 2 numbers we have diagonally from one another are 80 and 25. So let's multiply them together, and we'll get a product of 2,000. Step 3 says to divide that product by our third number, 100, and we get an answer of 20. 20 is the answer to this percent problem. So if we go back to our question, what is 80% of 25? 20 is our new answer, and that tells us how many questions we got correct out of the 25 on our science test. Let's try one last example. Say you're walking into your favorite store that has a 35% off sale. That means 35 out of 100 is what you're going to save. But the item you're looking to buy isn't $100, it's actually $20. So what is that 35% of the $20 that you want to spend? How much money are you going to save? Let's set up those equal ratios using our question. The first ratio we have is our percentage. So 35 out of 100 will go in the first space, and we want to set that equal to something out of 20. Now let's follow our 3 steps to cross multiply and solve. Step 1 says to find the 2 numbers you have that are diagonal from one another. In this case, that's 35 and 20. We're going to multiply them by each other. 35 times 20 gives us 700. And lastly, we'll divide that product by the third number. 700 divided by 100 equals 7. That's our answer for this equal ratios percent problem. So going back to our original question, what is 35% of 20? 7 is the number or the dollar amount in this scenario that you're going to save on a $20 item. So, in summary, we can find a percentage of any number by using equal ratios and cross-multiplying to solve for the missing number. Thank you for watching, and if you're interested in learning more about TurtlEd, you can visit our website at withturtled.com.